Welcome everyone to the NFL Predictive Playbook. I have Dr. Chuck with me in the house, and he and I have done pretty darn well in the NFL and college football. On the shows that are free picks, we went 4-0, we went 2-0 in college football, we nailed it in the NFL. I'm currently ranked number one in college football at 68% and 35 units made, coming off a 10-unit winner. And granted, it was my first ever 10-unit winner. Chuck, I don't like hype. I don't like jumping from like a 5 to a 10. I wish there was like a 7 or a 6. But anyway, nonetheless, it won. It was Colorado State. I think Iowa is one of the most overrated Big Ten teams I have ever seen in my life, with the exception of maybe Indiana last year. But we'll find out when Penn State goes to play Iowa in 2 weeks. So that will be the game that will prove me right or wrong. But nevertheless, Colorado State covered easily by 13.5. They were actually winning the game at halftime. Can't think of anything better than that when you have 23.5 points in your pocket. But we're looking at the upcoming game on Thursday night with the Bengals taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And boy, I don't know how to even sugarcoat Jacksonville right now. The passer ratings of all the rookie quarterbacks are just not good. Mac Jones is I think, the highest one by far. But it's a big learning curve. And I've heard time and time again the change in speed from the college level to the NFL level. Devontae Smith, for example, of the Eagles, he dominated in the SEC. But now he's going to get lined up. Actually, tonight, he'll get lined up against a former teammate who actually is faster than him. And how many times does that happen even in the SEC? So you can give them, I think we give them all a pass, except for that flea flicker play that you alluded to when we were off stage here. That was an interesting throw.
Interesting. You're just the nicest. You're the most kind, gentle man. I mean, maybe it has something to do with. Tell us, how'd you take a circle loss this weekend?
Jacksonville was my fifth pick. Yeah, that was. Well.
Hashtag dogs all day, but didn't work out. The Cardinals can look as abysmal as possible for about 50% of a game and still cover easily.
But in that circle, I'll take 3-2. It's like in the U.S. Open in golf, I'll take pars on every hole, all 18 of them, if you gave them to me right now. But anyway, this game is
the football video. But I'm hoping, because you are John, that you were watching at the end there where Brooks was really trying to be the comp clutcher with that hole in one. Can you imagine if he stole that? He stole Morikawa's glory with that. He hits a hole in one and Morikawa's standing over his putt to clinch it. That would have been something.
Yeah, that would have just been a little bit unkind. But I think the golfing gods were involved with making sure that didn't go in the hole for the hole in one. Because you're right, Morikawa deserved it, and that was just such a cool event for the U.S. No doubt.
That was great.
But in the Jacksonville game here, preseason Westgate put out the opening lines before even a preseason game started, and they had this game lined at what did I say it was here?
I think it was -2.5 at Westgate.
It was -2.5 is correct. And now we've risen 5 points to 7.5. And what I've noticed historically using the contest is that we have a baseline of 2.5. That's what we thought the teams were going to be like before we saw a game. But now we've seen preseason. We've also seen 3 weeks of the NFL. We haven't seen much at all out of Jacksonville, except for that 109-yard return at halftime of a short field goal kick that would have been 68 yards. Cincinnati, I honestly was not surprised that they went into Pittsburgh and won, because you and I both agree that Pittsburgh is not as good as we thought they were, and they have a lot of holes to plug up if they hope to be contending in that AFC North, especially after that loss at home. I mean, that's not a good loss. Pittsburgh does not take good losses. It's like there's no moral victories in the NFL.
Yeah.
But what do you see here early? Because I know you have some action on this already early in the week, which is good for our listeners. So take it away and tell us what to do.
So as I am enjoying basking in the glory of winning the Steelers game, I will be drinking my Homer beer here as we give the analysis. But what we were discussing off air is you do have to be careful with what you're doing with the Steelers right now, because I had my share of backers and I had my share of detractors last season, and I don't remember how late in the season it went, but I was happily able to speak every Monday when they continued to get another win with a goose egg in the loss column that this might be the worst undefeated team I've ever seen. And yes, I am on a personal level not a Steelers fan, but they were not a good team. It was kind of obvious in every single metric if you break down a game other than what it shows on the scoreboard. And so, the Bengals were also hugely hit hard by everybody. I think it went from 5.5 to 4.5 to 3.5 as the week went on, and probably closed just a field goal. So they were in control the whole game, and their defense the Bengals defense, that is definitely underrated. They really didn't let the Steelers do anything, even just to get that last field goal to put it within 2 scores. I think it took them 15 plays just to get those 3 points to make it 24-10. So Jacksonville has its work really cut out for them. I was on the Bengals right away at that 6.5, 7. If you can get a 6.5, 7, I would probably still be on board, because I think that's the way to go. John's going to talk a little bit more about some other angles of this game, but it's really easy for me if you're talking single digits. And I wouldn't jump on this 7.5, although I think it is going to expand. New quarterback and new coach on a short week and travel off of that game as well is just not a situation where you're going to be able to do a lot of adjustments. And, people have to keep in mind that we're seeing these things, Sean McVay needed a different quarterback. He needed a different arm for his system. Well, keep in mind, his system was Zach Taylor's system. And I have been a little bit of a detractor of Zach Taylor, but he was the guy that was trying to make it work with Goff before he got this job. And I think he's got his guy in Joe Burrow, and I think that's an offense that can be reckoned with. I mean, Jamar Chase looks like he's the real deal, and I just don't think that the Jacksonville's going to be able to score. So if you feel comfortable laying this many points, if the Bengals are going to get a couple of touchdowns and a couple field goals, it's going to be enough to cover most anything.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It reminds me, I think the only team offensively worse is the Jets, who now have 15 consecutive games not scoring a touchdown from scrimmage after getting shut out, which is something I apparently uttered on our show for that under pick, that I wouldn't be surprised if Denver shut them out.
There you go.
And,
you did.
They did.
That analysis was damn dead on. I'm not going to lie to you. And a team you just brought up, and you spoke about this at the beginning of the video, another rookie quarterback team.
Yep.
I mean, if you can get Wilson or Fields or Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones in one of your bad quarterback leagues, you're going to win each week.
Yeah, and you should highlight a place to look at right now that have these defenses, like a New England, like a Denver especially, that are in the top 5 in the metrics that mean something, not just scoring defense, but a lot of guys use the Dova metric. Anything that works for you. You identify these games where the rookie quarterback going up against an intelligent, sophisticated, complex defense that is hard to see, and Denver does such a good job with that. They look like they're in a cover 2, and then the snap of the ball, bang! They're in something that you can't even imagine. They could be in quarters. And
talk about interesting. I mean, you brought up the beginning, overreaction. You could make a pretty good penny doing nothing other than fading these overreactions that we're making. Now that would be taking the Jaguars in this spot, but one of the first things Kelly in Vegas tweeted this morning was, "We're heading into Week 4. The Broncos are favored over the Ravens. What world is this?"
Well, there you go. There you go. I mean, that's a perfect example.
It's what
perfect example.
Our eyes deceive us, and and then we have to figure out if it's that much of an overreaction, and we have to follow it.
Yeah, and that's what the market does. It's not Vegas telling you what the expectations are, who's going to win or who's better. it's them adjusting to what the perception is for the betting public. And guys, like, I think the difference, Chuck, is that pros kind of have like a 12 game moving average in their brain. So the most recent game is not going to affect the other 11 that we have in our head to the degree that an amateur bettor who bet Jacksonville or bet the Steelers would immediately react emotionally and say, I'm never betting the Steelers again as long as I live. They suck. I'm not betting them. Yeah. So what do you have? You have now Denver favored over Baltimore, and I'm not surprised by it. I'm really not surprised by it. And what you have to do then is determine, as you know so well, and I'm doing this for the people that are new bettors that might be listening to this, you have to decide whether, the most recent game that Baltimore played, is that typical of them? Is that within a standard deviation of their normal performance? Denver played Jacksonville. So how much credit can we really give Denver's defense when we don't really think Jacksonville can score a point against, Alabama right now?
Yeah.
So that's the part that's difficult. And that's why I use so many different applications, and Python's my favorite thing in the world to play with. But in this game, I'm gonna take a stab at the under, and again, it's similar to the Denver game last week, where I just don't think Jacksonville has the ability to score more than double digits, and that means 10, not 40. So there is a little system here. It's real easy. You're gonna bet under the total. You have to have one of the teams, in this case it's Cincinnati, off a road win against a division rival. That's a big win, no matter what division it is. Has a winning record on the season, and now is facing a losing record team. 79% winners to the under the last 5 years, 31-8. 45% of these plays, which would be 22 of the 30 wins, went under by 7 or more points. So I like this play quite a bit. It's probably definitely going to go into the window, and it possibly might make it to my premium clients, all access people too.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's
a good play.
We tried to sugarcoat it, Chuck, a little bit. We don't like to bash anybody unnecessarily, but Jacksonville has a lot of work in front of them. And I just wonder whether Urban Meyer sometimes wishes he would have gone to USC, which I believe is where his wife is from, Southern California. But who knows? I mean, he's a great coach, and if there's a guy that can make it work in Jacksonville, who else comes to mind that could do better? They'll figure it out, but it's not going to be this week.
Probably not.
So, guys, make sure you get over to Sportsmemo and get these are viewer-only promo codes. DRC59, 7-day all access for $59. Mine is JR59, and you'll get 7 days for $59. And keep in mind that usually connects 2 weeks of football. So we give our picks pretty early in the week, so people can take advantage of the line movements. So it's really quite the deal, and if you've never bought from us, it's a great way to test drive us, and we hope you do. So, Dr. Chuck, I'm glad you had the time to join me again. These are just absolutely fun shows to do. We thank everybody that watches these shows, and give us some thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss another show from the Predictive Playbook or Sportsmemo TV. So on behalf of Chuck, myself, Sportsmemo TV, sportsmemo.com, and wagertalk.com, and that great drink that Chuck has. May all the wins be yours.